What do you get if you cross a cast of characters with no idea what they're doing, a ridiculous CGI budget, and dragons? That's a question for you.
Oh, is it? Oh, I thought you were doing like a...
You should have probably warned us that that was the
I thought you were doing
premise.
like a opening kind of inner world kind of thing.
You answer the question.
Dragon Wars, D
No,
Wars.
no, that's wrong. I tricked you.
Oh.
The answer is Peter Jackson's The Hobbit trilogy. But what do you get if you swap out Peter Jackson for South Korean director Shim Hyang-rae?
Great pronunciation there.
Dragon
That's
Wars.
Dragon Wars.
That's
Dragon
it.
Wars,
Yeah.
Dragon Wars,
And that is the film we are reviewing today. So welcome to the Crap Movie Podcast, episode 1. I'm Max. I'm Jordan. I'm joined by... I'm not Jordan. I'm joined by Jordan.
Hello.
And I'm joined by London's biggest hipster, Tim Tuck. He's finally here.
I really don't like this hipster thing that started.
It's caught on.
Nah, I don't like this at all.
So you're here to defend yourself in person this time?
Yeah, 100%.
Excellent. Did you listen to the last episode? What
Yeah.
did you think?
Episode 0 was great. It's a good introduction.
Yeah.
I think the little chemistry for you two was good, but I really didn't like getting called a hipster. Main issue I took with it. Everything else was great.
Your chemistry was good, so you've come to break it up.
Yeah.
And throw
Yeah,
us back
go to
in.
ruin it a little bit. Throw that hipster vibe
Awesome.
in
Excellent. So, welcome to episode 1. The film we're reviewing today is called Dragon Wars D-War. And I guess the idea is we're going to talk about the film, review it, rip it to shreds maybe, and you can kind of laugh along. So there's a bit of a system to how we are going to be picking films. And the idea is that for each set of episodes, there's a theme or a genre or a keyword, and then we all put a film into a hat which relates to that, pick them out one at a time. So to start us off, the theme / genre / keyword was natural disasters, and the film that we pulled out was called Dragon Wars D-War. So at this point I'm going to hand over to Jordan to answer the first question, which is, what has this film got to do with natural disasters?
It's a good question. And the answer would be that a dragon is a natural creature, real or otherwise. It was birthed, so that's natural. It's as natural as it comes.
Okay.
And they cause disaster, as we're about to find out throughout the plot. So I would say, loosely, fair enough, that it is in fact a natural disaster.
Yeah.
A dragon's not supernatural?
It depends what kind of law you're following. I would say they're natural, naturally birthed. They're egg-based. So.
I would say that the link is pretty tenuous, and you just wanted us to watch this film, pretty much. And
Yeah.
any genre you would have just put this in.
Well, I mean, whatever you'd said. If you'd said mild horror, I would have probably introduced this kind of like teenage film. I mean, it covers all the bases.
Exactly.
It covers all the bases.
Cool. Okay, so why did you choose it?
I mean, all of the above. Really, it's a film that and we kind of discussed this a little bit in episode 0, but it's a film that I watched with you when we were a bit younger. And as soon as you mentioned that you wanted to start a podcast about terrible films, it was the first one that came to mind. And I thought that, looking back on it, I had kind of mixed memories of it, either being there were like awesome parts of it that were particularly good, and bits of it that were absolutely awful. And then watching it back again, I realised that it was 90% just really bad.
Yeah, I couldn't remember what it was like watching it back in the day, but once I watched it again this time, it all came flooding back, and I remember the disappointment and just how awful it was.
Yeah.
Tim, you'd never seen it before.
No, I've never seen it before. Had to pay to watch it.
Which is surprising for you, because you've seen so many films.
I've
of
watched a
every
lot,
genre.
but not in the dragon genre, I'll be honest. Something I've kind of steered clear of.
Yeah.
Having to pay to watch this really upset me.
What website did you watch it on?
I bought it on Amazon.
Awful.
Yeah, that's a good question, actually. Where do people watch this?
I started watching it on YouTube, and the whole film's on YouTube, which is never a good sign. But it had subtitles of some unidentified language, so I swapped to like a dodgy site, found like a 720p stream, and kind of soldiered on with that.
I found I bought it through YouTube.
You paid as well.
I bought it through YouTube.
You need to keep a record of that, because you can get the VAT back.
Yeah, get it
from
through
HMRC.
expenses.
Yeah.
I watched the whole thing on page YouTube. Watched it in HD, and then I found a full stream of it in Arabic language where they dubbed over it.
Okay.
So I watched the first 3 minutes of that as well to add some more flavour to it.
Nice.
But yeah, pay for the first round viewing, which is always
Okay.
nice.
And we all watched it a good few weeks ago, and the memories are hazy at best.
Yeah, I mean, I would have said, I came back in this evening, thought I'll read through my notes and get a bit of a bearing for where I am, but I have overwritten my notes and deleted them, so this is going to be a stab in the dark.
Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and say I absolutely hated it. Like, it was awful.
It's
torture.
The thing that I came away from that film thinking was that's such a shame that CGI at that time was wasted on such an awful story.
Yeah.
Because actually, if you base it where it was when it was released, the CGI is actually really good.
Yep.
And there are bits of it where I'm like, wow, like that was actually impressive. I mean, there are bits that I'll come on to that in a minute, but there are bits that really showed me that it wasn't particularly good.
Yeah.
But there were moments where I was like, if this film had been produced by a Marvel in that time, it would have been an amazing film.
I remember reading the box back in the day, and it said something like it was the highest visual effects budget of all time at that point.
Yeah,
is that true? Am I remembering? Because when I was googling, I couldn't find anything.
Well, that was the reason that we rented it from Blockbuster.
Yeah,
maybe that was a UK marketing tactic. They were like, these guys will love it. 74 million quid on, or was it 740 million quid on budget? We were
740 million. That's not right.
74.
No, we'll talk about the budget.
Fine. Okay. It's
yeah.
a number between those two numbers.
Okay, but Tim, as our resident visual effects expert, was it money well spent?
I didn't know I had this title, but to be fair, the visual effects aren't actually that bad.
Okay.
So there's some in the opening scene where they've got that terrible voiceover where I've seen better stuff made at school in 2003 on Flash, but where they do some of the heavy lifting visual effects, pretty good.
Okay. So in terms of high level thoughts about the film, I'm gonna go ahead and say the tone is just so bad. It's like 3 different tones. It's like the director had watched 3 American films in his life and then combined them, and them being like some kind of Godzilla film where you've got the kind of monster aspect chasing them around. You've got the weird kind of American Pie humour. There's one bit where he's like sniffing her underwear, and it's all a bit weird. It just doesn't fit in.
I'd forgotten about that.
Yeah,
that did make the notes for me.
Yeah, and then you've got the kind of medieval Korean fantasy kind of stuff that is really dodgy, makes no sense.
But if you think about it, right, if you're a Korean director and you're thinking what's gonna appeal to Americans, if you pick those 3 genres and you blend them successfully, you probably could make a good film of it. But they're such a strong contrast to each other.
Did you find any of the comedy funny?
No.
Was there comedy in it?
Yes, there were a couple of bits that actually made me laugh a little bit.
I despise
intentionally laugh.
Yeah, so there was the bit where the villain, the villain character isn't actually the villain. He never has a name or anything like that. Not because the main baddie is the big evil snake, right?
Yes.
The guy I've referred to as Bankai.
That's Baraki.
Bankai.
But then the actual general of his army never gets given a name, but he has so many scenes. He does so much. He looks a bit like Sting, I think.
He reminded me of, have you boys ever seen the Super Mario Brothers live action film?
Right.
He looked like Bowser from that, like a really low budget.
So we can just call him Bowser.
We'll call him, from the rest of this, we'll call him Bowser, just for my sake.
So the bit that I laughed at is when he goes to Nick's shop or Jack's shop, and he melds through the mesh, and then there's an old lady that sees him, and she tries to do it as well, but she just walks into the
That
mesh.
was the best scene in the entire film.
Why don't I remember
where that old lady just walks into a fence, just headbutts it, and then just kind of just potters along.
I genuinely laughed at that. And then also when Bowser attacks them on the bridge they're driving, and they run him over, and it's really funny, really slapstick. And then later on in the scene, he gets run over again.
Yeah. That's the bit I remember.
Yeah.
And that's when because it was quite, up until that point, the 20 minutes leading up to that were quite tense and they were quite trying to build up some tension, and then all of the tension was just deleted as soon as he was hit by that car, and it looked comedic. They'd made it look like it was supposed to be funny, but it was such a weird, and I think that kind of goes back to your point, which is they never quite got the pace of the film right. Like, you'd feel like you were building up to this big fight scene, and then some comedic little scene would happen.
So dumb.
And then everything would be gone. I would just be like, why have you put it in this order? And I think the main problem of that comes with the plot, which is probably something that we should kind of talk to a little bit more.
Well, you're the expert on the plot, aren't you?
Yeah.
With all your notes.
Yeah. Well, all my notes. So, is it worth me kind of starting to talk through the story a little bit?
Not yet. We'll get to that. I was going to say, in terms of the cast.
Yes.
What did you think? Were there any standout performances? Did you recognise anyone, perhaps?
Well, yes. I mean, I had a note before my notes were deleted. I had a note that said something along the lines of, I knew this was going to kick off when the guy from Hot Tub Time Machine turned up. Yeah. That was the moment where I knew this
That's your reference for him, though.
Yeah.
Mine is, he's
Daryl in the office.
in the office, yeah.
Also, Pam Beasley from Parks and Recs is just a random nurse in it at one point. I was like, what?
Is she?
Yeah. She's the sassy nurse.
Pam Beasley from Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
I think I need to
Hipster.
watch that a bit more.
Yeah.
It's a good show.
Yeah.
Just watch it.
Anyway, so I recognised him. There's a actually pretty well-known actor in it, Robert Forster, who plays Jack. He actually died a couple of weeks ago. So
Yeah.
Way to
all
ruin the mood.
proceeds go to.
Yeah, but he's actually quite a prestigious actor. He's quite well known. He was in a Quentin Tarantino film.
I think
Was it after Dragon Wars? Did they spot
I
him
think
and
he's
think
nominated for an Academy Award. Maybe
Yes.
I may have made that up though.
Yeah, they must have.
Just don't fact check it.
They must have paid him a lot to be in this. But did you think the acting held up, or anyone gave a good performance?
I literally couldn't name one actor that came up with a good piece of credibility for that film. I think you come out at the end of that, and you, even as an actor, you watch that. You know when they all sit together, they go and see it in a cinema. I don't think anyone could have come out of that not being embarrassed.
Not even the security guard who gets to comedically look over the shoulder of the doctor. And kind of, like
That bit was so stupid. Why were they doing like a pantomime bit in the office? I was like, again, they built up this kind of like this bit of story. I was like, right, okay, it's going to go somewhere, and then the pantomime stuff
Tim looks
happens.
confused.
Is that the bit where we follow Mr. Belafonte, who I'm going to talk about at length at one point, is in the psychiatric ward?
Yeah.
Yes, well,
and they're like, stop thinking you can see dragons, and he's like, yeah, okay, whatever. I didn't see the dragon, and the dragon flies up to the window,
just over his shoulder.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't.
He's the best actor.
Be specific. It doesn't fly because
It's not a
fucking
serpent.
dragon.
At that point, no spoilers. It's a serpent.
I felt hard done by because I came in expecting dragons, and then in the intro they start talking about amugis, and I red flag to go, and I'm thinking, what's an amugi? Why are you talking about amugis? I want dragons, and I felt very blueballed for the whole film.
I don't think a Moogie Wars I War would have the same ring to it though.
Wouldn't
Would it
sell
really?
as well, I don't think, in the West.
The American audience wouldn't. I mean, what is an Amoogie?
I don't know. It's a big snake, I guess.
I didn't Google it. I didn't want to Google anything
on
about
the
this
topic
film.
of the name.
Yes.
So Dragon Wars, D-War, is the actual Western name. Presumably, the D stands for dragon, which means it's called Dragon Wars, Dragon War. So that's just mad, isn't it?
So good they named it twice.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's really upsetting.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing that you can take all that seriously about this film. And if it had been a film where it was kind of like, this is a bit funny, we've had loads of budget, let's make it into a really funny action film, it would be loved by everyone.
Yeah.
But they came at it from such a like, as soon as the age when with that beginning bit with that voiceover, they can't go in
the
serious
awful
with that.
voiceover that's almost a semi rip off of the beginning of the first Lord of the Rings film.
And there's a bit within the voiceover where the sound department obviously forgot to turn the mic down on one of the bits because she's like muttering quite slow, and then it suddenly starts screaming into the mic, and I was like,
nice. It's like something we'd do.
Exactly. Sorry.
Talking of
for anyone listening to
voiceovers, there's a bit. I'm just skipping ahead because it really annoyed me and it's reminded me. They go to a beach, and I don't know why they've gone to a beach. He's just like hugging her on a beach. The guy with the Beatles cut.
They start holding hands.
Yeah. Oh, they're holding hands then, and then a voiceover cuts over that's his voice, and at the end of it, and he just goes, "Well, then she must die." I was like, "This got really dark pretty quickly. Is he just going to murder and throw her in the sea?"
What was the timeline between them meeting and them being in love? Was it was it a day?
Yes.
No, she was already in love with him. No, her flatmate was already in love with him because he's on the TV.
Yeah, no, I was thinking about this though, and I was going to make fun of this, but it makes sense because it's one part of the film that does make sense because they're the reincarnation of the heroes who were in love back in the day, which means that when they meet in present day, they've got
a bit of a spark.
Exactly, that's the point,
chemistry.
right? And they start to realise, and they do the dream sequence thing when they get the weird bit where they go to a professor who knows how to unlock your dreams or something.
Oh, that bit makes
after
no
that
sense.
point is when they start holding hands and stuff. So I guess that's when they remember their past.
They
forgot so
unlock their
much of this
sexual
movie.
fantasies. Yeah, literally, I can't remember that at all.
And it's stressing me out remembering it.
So we'll do a few more kind of like high level things. So in terms of the budget, we talked about the fact that it had a huge special effects budget, and that was a big selling point. Do you guys know what the actual budget was?
740 million.
No, that's crazy.
So I did Google it, and I couldn't find one number anywhere.
Okay, there's multiple numbers.
Yeah.
So supposedly it started off, it was backed by Chinese billionaires probably. It started off at 35 million. Then apparently it went way over, and people say it went up to like 70 something million. But apparently on the DVD special edition, this is a hot scoop, it was 99 million.
Was that for the DVD itself?
Each copy was 99 million.
No,
golden crusted.
So that's like from a budget of 35 to 99 is pretty ridiculous. But guess how much it made in the box office?
Like 28 grand.
No,
I would expect that it made 15 million pounds.
So it made 100 million. So it cost 99. It made 100 million.
Oh, so there's very suspect accounting happening there.
Yeah. Yeah, but all that effort for $1 million.
Which you would have lost on marketing.
And put South Korea on the map. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
they've never looked back from there, have they?
Yeah, I think it was probably the biggest, most expensive South Korean film at the time as well. But I was going to say, my NatWest instant savings account has an interest rate of 1.5%. So if we took that 99 million, put it in that for a year, we'd make more money than Dragon Wars.
But you wouldn't have made Dragon Wars.
Yeah,
So
you
I
would have
think-
made a pinnacle of Dragon.
That's another good thing.
Listen.
That's even more reason.
On that point, did any of you, when trying to find a copy of the film, see that there was a Dragon Wars 2 that kept on coming up in autocomplete?
No,
It's
thank
because
God.
people are Googling it, because the people want
The
it.
people, I mean, listen.
The people do
what
not
was the
want that.
director's name? Say it again.
Yeah, good question. Shim Hyang Ray.
Listen, Shim, if you're on Google, just Google Dragon Wars and see what comes up, mate. Dragon Wars 2 is the most popular search. So all I'm saying, get the 99 million back
Can you
out.
go on Google Analytics and see how many people are searching that?
Yeah, of course
And
I
like when the peaks and troughs are.
I've got loads of batteries, so let me jump on and do that.
While Jordan does a lot of Googling, should we pull out some other bits, Max?
Yeah, go for it. If you've got a bit to put out, I'm not going to stop you.
Oh, I do. That guy's haircut really upset me. Why is he like the Beatles, and why is everyone seeing him on TV going, "Oh, he looks so cute with that hair"? It's like, what? What's happening? What's happening to 2007 America?
Again, it's because the people who watched that film from Korea wanted to cast someone who looked like a classic American hero from like the 90s, and that was the hair of a 90s hero. But it was genuinely distracting. There were scenes where stuff was going on and I could just see his massive Lego haircut.
That and his weird jacket he wore through lots of the film that made him look like he's going to try and sell us a house at one point, which I didn't get.
And also, to complete the outfit, the amulet that he has, comedically big and just hanging out of his shirt at all times. He's like, wears it at work and stuff like that. It's so weird.
On set.
Yeah.
He's got this huge like gold
So
medallion. Dragon. So shall I type in Dragon Wars 2 and just see what kind of people...
Yeah, you can go on Google Analytics. It lets you see search terms. And when
Google
people
Trends?
search. Yeah, that's it. Google
that's the
Trends.
one.
Sorry, I'm an idiot. Yeah, I was going to say the characters are literally so boring. None of them have any like strengths or weaknesses or interests. I was going to say none of them have family, but you reminded me that he does have a father in the flashback.
Yeah.
And it's the most irresponsible father in the world.
Just leaves him with a stranger.
He leaves him with a stranger in an antique shop.
He's a bit of a creepy stranger as well.
That whole bit with the faked heart attack.
Yeah, the noise he makes is hilarious. Yeah.
It all felt very suspect, and I think there's some points to be made about him as a character.
Yeah.
When we get into the plot, I want to talk about him at semi-length because it was weird. But on Jordan's point about the acting, none of them seem to have... I guess this is what the lines they've been given. None of them have agency to move the plot forward.
No, yeah.
If like nothing happened, like if they didn't do anything, we would have got to that final point anyway.
Yeah, literally, throughout the film, none of them make any decisions, take any risks. The one thing they do is decide to go to see the Dream Man, and then at the end, she decides to put the thing in the good Imugi instead of the bad Imugi, which is almost a no-brainer anyway.
Is that her decision?
You can't... Well, yeah, no, it is.
She
you
makes
can't
the
really
call,
applaud it, but they just stumble around, go from one scene to the other. Basically, at the end of every scene... Daryl from the office pulls up in a car, shouts "Get in!" They get in, and then they drive into the next scene. Something happens, and then the film just goes on like that.
Yeah, it's like in the classic PowerPoint where you just do like a fade across between different slides. It was like the go-to thing to join two scenes together.
That's their star wipe.
Yeah, exactly. Just get Daryl straight through.
Dumb.
So interesting bit of knowledge for you. So Dragon Wars was released in 2007, but the peak of Dragon Wars 2's interest was in July 2013.
Shit.
6 years after release. What happened in that
Well,
month?
It's become a cult classic,
Yeah.
clearly. That's the time period, 6 years, cult classic,
Yeah, exactly. It immediately just becomes a cult classic.
that day.
I mean, listen, and since then it has only gone down in popularity.
Oh dear.
That's when they should have released
We
it.
need to start Googling that and get it back up. I've got a talking point for the end of the show, little sneak peek for you about a sequel. And probably when it started being talked about in the media is like 2013, so that makes sense. But should we kind of get onto the plot then? So the idea was Jordan was going to talk us through the plot, but he's lost all of his notes and watched it a good few weeks ago. So what are you going to do instead?
Going to read it from imdb.com.
Okay, and we'll chime in with like little bits and bobs as you go, I guess.
Yeah, I'm going to need to
We're
zoom
really
in.
plugging a lot of websites as we go through
I know.
here.
Yeah,
I'm
call
hoping
us.
some like
Call
cash
us.
from one of them at least.
Yeah, give us a call. Okay, so in a small Korean village 500 years ago, a girl named Narin was born carrying the coveted Oh, for Christ.
Can you read coveted?
Yuiji.
I'm moving in. Yojin inside her. The heavens sent... Yuiju inside her. The heavens sent their protector, Bochan, and his... What? There's some spelling errors in here.
Jordan, you have to keep talking into the mic.
It's gone so badly.
Look at this. What? Am I having a stroke, or is that...
No, it says protect and...
But it's got
guard.
like protecting and guard harem to ensure that when it came time, Narin was peacefully sacrificed. Is that a thing?
Yeah,
can you be peacefully sacrificed?
The whole thing was they just like stab her up at one point and it gets released into it.
Fairly peaceful.
Okay.
To the predetermined good Imugi, Bochan vigorously trained harem as a knight to be prepared for the eventual day when Narin would be delivered to the good Imugi, the day the dark Imugi, Bukurai, Barakai and his army destroyed Narin's village, looking for the Yoinju. Am I ever going to get that right? Luigi.
Waluigi.
Guigi. Bochum instructed Harem to take her to the great Imugi. So that's the first paragraph.
Okay.
And I've literally learnt nothing.
Yeah, so this part of the film was first delivered, like you said, Tim, kind of like a scrolling comic style thing with like a little voiceover. But then it's delivered again, right?
Yeah.
With the double flashback. They hit us with the double flashback.
Oh, the flashback and the flashback really got me.
He's remembering as a child when he went to the antique shop, and in the antique shop, Jack told him the story that we heard already. So yeah, it's the double flashback. I thought they were going to go for the triple, but they didn't quite do it. So if we ever find a film with the triple
flashback,
it's like Inception.
Yeah.
But
really, the ideal is a flashback within a flashback within a flashback within a dream.
Okay,
but I think that's impossible to actually have.
So for the viewers out there, I don't think they could have learned anything from that last paragraph because that literally meant nothing, and I kept on.
And that is the opening of the film, and after you kind of get this spiel from Jack about it, and you see the flashback. The kid, young Ethan, literally looks at him and goes, "What are you talking about?" And that's exactly what I thought during that bit of the film. I was like,
"He was us."
I have no idea what's happened. You've just thrown out a load of names. I don't care about any of these characters. I kind of just want them to sacrifice her and the film's over so I can stop watching.
Peacefully sacrificed him.
So peacefully sacrifice her and I can stop watching.
You know, at the end of the kind of when he's telling Ethan the story, and it's kind of in medieval Korea, whatever, and they jump off the cliff at the end. I don't know. I was having a really innocent moment. I was like, oh, they jumped off and they're going to swim away, but they killed themselves.
No, they killed themselves. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
really,
in this bit, have we skipped the big fight scene?
There's a big fight scene.
In the flashback, there's a big fight scene.
Okay.
Is that later on?
No. Yeah. In the woods. It's in the woods. It's in the woods. And the old man comes out
of the village and
then
they run away.
You mean in the flashback? We haven't got to that bit yet, mate.
We kind of have.
Have we?
Okay.
No, we haven't.
Okay.
So I'm going to continue on to the next paragraph of this section.
Right, lead us through this.
I'm zooming in because I literally can't see. The young girl and her knight would then fulfill the giant serpent's destiny by giving it the power to save the world and become a heavenly dragon. By this time, after spending several years together, Harem and Narin had fallen in love.
Oh my god, this takes so long.
Unable to sacrifice their love to the benevolent Imugi, they jumped to their deaths together in each other's arms. The good Imugi's destiny was unfulfilled, and he would have to wait another 500 years until the next Guigi appears. I'm going to get that right. It is now 500 years later, so welcome to present day.
And for some reason, they have been reincarnated in Los Angeles instead of Korea. How convenient.
Yeah, was that ever explained?
No.
Why they just appeared?
No, that's never
sense.
explained. And how Jack has the same scar on his arm from the fight scene that we seemingly have forgotten about.
Because
he then shows it to young Ethan.
Right.
Scars don't carry over in reincarnations, do they? What kind of scar is this?
Do we have reincarnation rules? I feel like a reincarnation. If reincarnations are fine, scars are fine.
Yes.
Haircuts are fine.
Not all of them.
Did they have the same haircut? That was a good question, actually. Does the Korean version...
That might explain it.
No, he has a bandana kind of thing on the entire time.
But when he wears it down, has he just got the Beatles haircut?
Never has it off. He dies too quickly.
He does.
For us to care about him or to show his hair.
He does die too
So we're
quickly.
in modern day.
We're now in modern day, and it's in present day Los Angeles. And the quest for the Imugi is reborn. Harim and Narim have been reincarnated as Ethan Kendrick and Sarah Daniels, whose bond of love remains unsevered. Ethan is an investigative reporter for the local news. He is closely following a series of unexplainable disasters. Natural disasters.
These aren't natural disasters.
That's unexplainable.
They think it's a terrorist plot at one point.
Unexplainable natural disasters occurring in the area. When a young woman named Sarah is linked to these occurrences, Ethan remembers that an ancient man he met many years before had predicted all of these events.
This is incorrect. Sarah's never linked to the occurrences,
Yeah,
is she?
She is. It keeps happening where she goes.
Oh, I didn't pick up on that.
How did you not pick up on this? This is the most basic
I don't know.
film.
Wasn't that the major plot point?
Yeah, the police that are kind of chasing her are going from what they think is terrorist attack to terrorist attack, and they're all places that she goes to.
Brilliant.
Genuinely, that is the plot of
when
this
they're
film.
watching the news, and they've just been to the gym for some reason, I remember that detail.
Yeah, they go to the gym.
Not the major plot point.
And there's like a thing, and they're watching it, and they're talking about, Ethan Kendrick's so hot or whatever. Does she say anything like, I was there earlier today?
Yeah, something like that.
Oh.
And then later on, I don't care about messing the plot up at this point. The giant snake thing turns up at her house, and it's another natural disaster, terrorist attack, that happens at her house, and it kills her roommate and stuff, doesn't it?
It's a bit like Final Destination, like it's
It's just always after her,
trying to get
and then the police don't put these two things together until they do somehow.
Okay.
I'll just skip forward a bit. I think
Okay.
really good.
I was going to say he looks just like a budget Tom Cruise, and then they call him Ethan, and I think that.
That's the character, isn't it? Isn't the
That
character?
is Ethan Hunt. In,
Yeah, exactly.
Mission
I
Impossible.
thought that was a little reference. I don't know if it
It probably
was.
is.
Actually, because that is roughly the time when Tom Cruise grew his hair out for the
that's what I thought.
Mission Impossible films, and he's got that really weird, like semi-mullet kind of thing going on.
So what we're saying here is that this director from South Korea has basically gone, what's the biggest things in Hollywood right now?
Tom Cruise.
Everyone likes dragons. Everyone loves Tom Cruise.
He goes to
Everyone
the
likes
casting
American
director.
Pie. And he just throws in. He goes, I want to find someone who looks like his slightly ill brother.
Yeah.
And get him in. Can he act? Doesn't matter. Just get him in. Because that's effectively what we've got.
And we've got the answer to can he act? No.
Yeah, definitely not. So we're now at present day, and where this plot line has brought us up to is the store. So he was remembering that he heard this story,
and we do it all again, and we just repeat everything we just had.
is it more or less palatable than the first one? I think it could be.
I think
it's more because the first one's got awful, just like animation happening on the screen.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. So then we've now gone to the point where he's predicted all those events. Ethan finds Sarah and helps her escape the wrath.
Well, you've skipped some good
I
scenes.
haven't.
You've skipped some
great
good scenes.
scenes
No,
there.
Because he says he comes to the station, right, where we see Daryl from the office, and he says, we need to find someone called Sarah. And they're like, Sarah in Los Angeles, but he
There's like 100,000
runs
of
to
them.
search as if he's going to maybe find her, and then he's surprised. He's like, there's thousands of people called Sarah.
Yeah,
It's so stupid.
Like, and then in this scene as well, Ethan, our boy Ethan, says, she'll have a birthmark. Why would Daryl have a database that has birthmarks in it?
That's a weird
It's literally
database.
a
But
news
then later on,
reporter.
Daryl goes, this is like 4 times we've gone back to this computer later and we've gone to different scenes. Daryl comes back and goes, actually, there's not birthmarks in it. But why? You should know this straight off the bat, surely.
And when we actually see that birthmark, that is not a birthmark. It's literally a tattoo. Like, it's so defined.
Yeah, I mean it's like perfectly outlined.
So stupid.
Yeah, it's more defined than the Tenacious D one in Pick of Destiny.
Let's not bring that film up. That's going to play at some point of this podcast at some point. So we are now. This story literally
So he finds
stops.
Sarah. He finds Sarah, right?
This point literally starts and helps her escape the wrath.
We've missed other stuff.
There's
I
nothing-
swear. No, because
There's nothing in
because
between that.
he finds her when she's at the police station. So first, we see Sarah, and she's having all these bad dreams and stuff, and she's like drawn on her walls. It's very Stranger Things, and her friend tries to come and cheer her up. Really good friend, by the way. He takes her out for some beers. Sarah's not feeling it, and then Sarah leaves the bar, and it's like, at this point, I realised a trope that I had never realised is actually a trope, and it's the film trope where a girl leaves like a dive bar in the US
And gets
there's
attacked.
3 guys
Hey,
in
baby.
the parking lot.
Hey baby, turn around. Where you going?
I thought I'd seen it 1,000 times before. And she gets attacked by them, But then weirdly, Jack comes out of nowhere.
Can Jack teleport? Because again, plot hole. Why doesn't he just take her to the place?
Because he senses fear in women and he goes and fights their cause. All right.
Oh, I thought he was causing the fear in women.
He plays both roles quite well.
It's so weird though, because from this point on, Jack is not a character. Jack is just a force of nature who goes from scene to scene and just saves them. And then he disappears, and he doesn't have any more lines until the end. It is so weird. But yeah, then they take her to the police station, and this is when the police are like, "Oh, we've got this girl who reported, she beat up 3 guys," and the chief of police is like, "Oh, I'm not interested in that." And they go, "They were footballers." He's like, "Oh my god,
get my best men on the case."
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And that's when they link her to all the terrorist attacks.
Yeah, and that's when he finds
What was her name?
Yeah,
Sarah.
Oh yeah. So
does she have a birthmark?
Yeah, and that's how he meets up with Sarah.
And here we are, back at the plot point that I was talking about. So, Sarah... right, okay. So at this point, the evil dragon...
That's not a dragon.
The evil Imugi...
Yes, thank you.
The evil Imugi now understands that these two are together and is hunting them down. Mm-hmm. So just to bring me into this next point. So
it's called Baraki. The evil
one's
Imugi
called
Baraki. All right. So Baraki's on the hunt, and Ethan is trying to help Sarah escape the wrath of Baraki. And his army, to be fair.
I think we've missed another big point, though. During this kind of time in the film, we also get our first introduction to Mr. Belafonte, who is a zookeeper.
Yes.
Who watches some elephants get eaten by this giant snake, which then screeches into the sky, but no one believes him that these elephants are eaten, even though one gets thrown across the zoo at him.
Dead and missing.
Yeah. And no one seems to believe it. And surely, if a giant snake is like screeching into the sky, someone's calling the police.
The bit I thought was questionable about this is that happens, and then a few hours later, somehow, what's his name?
Mr. Belafonte.
He is in a straitjacket in a doctor's office, being tested, like psychiatrically. Their healthcare system must be so good for him to be there within 2 hours and all that process to have happened. I really just didn't believe it.
I'm pretty sure America's notoriously not good at healthcare.
Yeah, especially mental healthcare.
Yeah, and we get that comedic scene where he says, "Oh, so I just have to say there's no such thing as a giant snake, and you can let me out." She's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Okay, it's not real." And then classically, it comes up to the window.
It's like
almost winking at him. It's so stupid.
If you don't mind, I'd like to take a slight deviation from this course. I didn't realise this was a thing on IMDb. There's a thing called Parents Guide.
Okay.
Where parents write their review on the film in relation to how good it is for kids to watch.
Okay.
I'm really interested in this already.
It's unofficial.
It's gonna be weird.
It's unofficial. So, this is written by a non-moderator, just a user.
Okay.
A Moogie fan too.
This film contains intense action and violence throughout. There are a few instances of blood. When the evil dragon drops a dead elephant, there are big bloody bite marks on it. Also, in the last half hour, when the dragons are shot by the army, bloody bullet holes are pretty apparent.
Awful.
The second one down just says 4 hells, 1 shit, and 1 damn.
All right, so they've counted swear words. Excellent. We need someone to do that for our podcast. Tim was worried that he was going to be swearing loads.
I've really tried not to. So far.
Well done, mate.
Yeah, these are fucking. On every film, I'm going to dive into Parents Guide because that's a nice independent review.
I actually did a bit of research myself, and I've got some Amazon reviews ready for later.
Oh, excellent!
I think we need to speed up though. I think we need to speed up through this plot.
Okay, right, where were we? Right, okay. Ethan finds Sarah and helps her escape the wrath of Baraki and her army, aware that Sarah must sacrifice herself in order to save the city from the Barakai and ensure that the good Imugi becomes the dragon. Ethan tries to convince Sarah that there is another way to battle the Imugis. Meanwhile, the FBI agents, I'd like to put a pin in this conversation because we're definitely coming back to that, are on the case. Frank Campbell.
What? Who's that?
The head of the security unit.
Okay.
So Frank Campbell's involved. Has uncovered the Imugi's intentions through his own investigation.
No, he hasn't. He goes, what have you got? And they say, oh, we've got nothing, sir, except these crazy fantasy rumours. He's like, that's rubbish.
What is this piss pass?
In the next scene, he's in a car, literally, and he is fully bought in and invested.
He's like reading an ancient scroll.
Yeah.
Oh, the Amugis, if they don't get there quick enough.
It's ridiculous.
I mean, that whole scene where they go into the war room.
Yeah.
They're like, we do have something for you, sir. It's a 500-year-old scroll that we found in a library. He's like, what?
That's the Secretary of State they tell that to.
What is happening?
They talk about that girl, and they're like, oh, she's got the Ouija. And then his instant reaction is, you know what we have to do. They're just going to kill her straight away.
And literally, the next line of this line is Campbell is ready to sacrifice Sarah to the demonic animals to save Los Angeles.
It's ridiculous.
That's the thing I have to do.
Yeah.
And why is it just Los Angeles? And why is it Los Angeles? There's so many questions.
I don't know.
Right,
next.
In the face of chaos and destruction, Ethan and Sarah must decide their own fate, whether to defy the will of heaven once again and let the city be destroyed, or deliver Sarah to the good Amugi. End. So we've just got to fill in the gaps.
What do you mean? That's as far as we get?
That's
That's this plot. Okay.
Okay, we can do it. We can do it.
Oh, I took so many notes.
Yeah,
So
so
we're okay.
she ends up in the hospital, right? This is before they meet up. And that's when her friend gets eaten by...
Yeah.
It's kind of like a reference to Jurassic Park 2 with the swimming pool.
Yeah.
The douchebag boyfriend's sniffing her panties, having a really good time. And you think he's going to be the one who dies, like a bit of kind of karma. But yeah, her friend just gets killed straight away. Then, yeah, she goes mad, ends up in a hospital. That's when he finds her? I don't know.
That's when he finds
Yeah,
her.
do you remember they go...
Yeah.
They go... I think I'm melding together like 3 or 4 different films.
Yeah, once they're together, that's
go
when
to
they
Dr.
start
Sleep.
just getting in cars and driving around from scene to scene.
And get the dream guy involved.
Yes.
Which is a really odd scene because it basically just delves into her past life, and then you see, I don't know, is there like some astral projection of her above her or something? There's some weird light show happening in this entire scene. We're in that doctor's house.
Yeah.
Is that the third flashback?
No, that's
it's
like the 10th flashback's happened in this film at this point.
yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
And then the Baraki then just smashes up the house.
Yes.
And they run away, and again Daryl appears as he does in basically the end of every scene of this film, and drives them to the next scene.
Yep. At some point, Bowser goes to Jack's shop, and conveniently, Jack has collected all of these scrolls and ancient artifacts, which are the exact things that Bowser needs to summon his army. It's just such a miscalculation. And this is when he really goes out of his way, and he's reading these scrolls, and he's like name dropping all the kind of animals that he's summoning. And I think they probably did this because they thought it was going to be a really good franchise, and they were going to sell like loads of toys.
Yeah, there's some merch off the back of
the elephant with the laser beam.
He shouts like, "Oh, arise, my dawdlers," and stuff like that. And each type of dinosaur has like a special name. It's really weird that they went into that much detail, but I quite appreciated it.
I think there's a sticker book somewhere for these like
Is there
things.
any merch? Is there any
Definitely
merch?
not.
Right, Jordan, you Google merch while we
So the plot's run out now, so we just need to keep
dive
going,
into,
right?
I think,
So-
the main fight scene, which is the battle for Los Angeles.
Yeah, so he's summoned his like dinosaur army into Los Angeles from Jack's shop, and they're walking down the street, right? And then all of a sudden, the US Army is there.
There's tanks everywhere all of a sudden.
Yeah.
But tanks, even though earlier in the film we saw just like Korean villagers killing people all the time, quite easily defending themselves against some of these things, tanks no longer have any impact and also can't aim. They're like stormtroopers. They miss every single shot they take.
Yeah, and it's so weird because the dawdlers have these cannons on their back, and it's like fine. That was fine for destroying a Korean village and these kind of shanty houses, but somehow these things are also destroying like US Army tanks. It makes no sense.
Could they not have been working in the Dragon Realm to upgrade their weaponry? Is that not a thing that could have happened? I mean, listen, there's a lot of potential factors here that we're not putting into play.
Don't add like lore to this film. The Dragon Realm is not something I want to delve
I
into
should have worked on this film, honestly. I'm filling in the gaps.
Anyway.
There was a scene within that kind of fight for Los Angeles that I really enjoyed, which was, I don't know if you guys remember it, it sticks in my mind. There's a scene where a helicopter pilot flies into a building, and the helicopter kind of like slides into the room, and he tries to get out, but then the helicopter explodes as he's getting out, and then the whole building just explodes.
goodness.
It's like this skyscraper.
Yeah. I don't remember.
Do you not remember?
No.
I remember looking at it going, how did they... What is this?
Why would you think that's a good idea to just show that as a shot?
Yeah, literally, he just slides in, tries to get out, and just blows up, and then the whole building
really
explodes.
But yeah, my favourite shot of the whole film, which I actually did enjoy, is in this section. Somehow they end up on top of this skyscraper. I think it's quite a well-known one on the San Francisco skyline, on the scene.
Is it?
They end up at
Is
the
this
top
in
of
San
it.
Francisco, not LA? We've been calling it LA the entire time.
It's in Los
Is it
Angeles,
LA?
mate.
Sorry, I'm getting confused. Anyway, yeah, Los Angeles. Skyscraper. They end up on top for some reason. They're getting picked up by a helicopter. That's the plan. But yeah,
Is Daryl in the newscopter?
Yeah, maybe. Anyway, the Moogie ends up at the top with them, and this is like the money shot from the front of the DVD box, I remember. And all these like Apache attack helicopters come out of nowhere. So it's really dumb because in real life, attack helicopters would shoot their rockets from like a mile away, but they're 20
Getting up,
meters
like,
away,
3 foot away.
from this giant stuff, and they shoot it like a lot, and it falls off the skyscraper onto the floor, and it looks really good. This is like, I thought
think
I was
that's where they
watching a real.
spent half that 99
Yeah,
million
it felt like I was
budget.
watching a real film. I quite enjoyed it.
Yeah, it kind of distracted slightly
Max
because I
is
was
a
like,
real film.
why is this good?
But then the Shacones, which are the little dragons, come out of nowhere and start attacking the.
Yeah, they go like kamikaze and just fly into the helicopters to take out the helicopters. And then again, they get in a helicopter and it crashes, and then Daryl appears and drives them away again somewhere.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh,
almost
I
definitely.
remember that bit. Yeah,
Because
he definitely
when
does.
is Daryl not driving them in the car?
Yeah.
It's like driving Miss Daisy. It's pretty.
I was really surprised that he survived. You know the scene where Bowser gets run over twice and Daryl kind of ends up face to face with him? I thought he was a goner, but he survives, so that's the main thing.
Thank God.
Yeah. So after the Battle of Los Angeles...
Yeah, we go to the Shadow Realm.
Do we? No, we end up in the car. They're driving the car and they're saying like, oh, thank goodness that's over. I'm so glad we survived. Then the car gets attacked.
They drive to Mexico, don't
They're
they?
driving somewhere to the
driving
desert.
to Mexico.
They're in the desert. Okay.
Oh, is this where we get the beach scene where he has the creepy voiceover?
No, that's way back. We've missed that.
I
That's
think
so
that,
far back.
that happened back in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Because for some reason they decide that Mexico is the safe spot to head off to.
Yeah.
So they start driving into the wasteland of
Yeah.
Mexico.
As it always is in all films, Mexico is always the place to go.
Yeah, absolutely.
They get attacked. They get whatever, knocked unconscious. It fades to black. Then all of a sudden, the next scene, we are in the middle of nowhere and there is a giant temple. And it's just not explained where it has come from. I don't know if they've travelled all the way to Korea or if somehow, within
Shadow Realm.
a day. The Shadow Realm. What are you talking about?
I've made that up. I'm just calling it the Shadow Realm.
If that's the Shadow Realm,
This
is the border
temple.
between Los Angeles and Mexico.
Yeah.
It's just so dumb. This temple's come out of nowhere. Anyway, and the army's there. He's tied up, right? She's also being sacrificed.
No, she's tied up.
Okay.
They're both tied up.
They're both tied up,
and
and
this
she's
is
about
the-
to get sacrificed.
The peaceful sacrifice that we were promised, I believe.
Yeah.
She's not peaceful. In my notes, I just called this area the cut rate Mordor. Because it is dreadful.
Yeah. And Baraki comes out, right? And
Yeah,
then
Baraki pops up.
this is when the amulet finally pays off because they were kind of like chiming on about the amulet. It was, dangling in every shot. And then they leave it and I actually forgot about it. And I was like, and then he pulls it out.
How could you forget about it? It's
don't
literally
know.
hanging out of his shirt
because
the whole film.
I swear they stopped doing that. Anyway, the amulet does something, destroys his army, right? I think.
No, that's later on. So the good Imugi rocks up and they start having like a sky battle where they're flying about.
They're not flying though.
This
They
is
got
the
no
point.
wings.
This
No,
is the
they do
point.
fly about even though they don't have wings, which annoyed
Okay.
me. And then this
Jordan, you look so skeptical.
I'm trying to piece together this scene.
this is where the amulet then comes in,
Okay.
and he gives the amulet to the girl, and then all of a sudden that superpowers the good Imugi, and it does like it gets like firebolts from heaven or something.
Yeah.
It all comes into the good Imugi and it absolutely wrecks the bad guy.
That's when it actually turns into a dragon. And finally,
Yes.
we get a dragon in this film called Dragon Wars D-War.
It's the War of the Dragon.
It's a really
one
like
dragon.
pasty, ill-looking dragon though. It's really like
It's
just
like
slender.
yes,
It's
yes.
an Eastern
Spindly.
dragon, and they are just rubbish anyway. The Western dragons are better.
What is a Western dragon?
So, like
Smaug.
Like Puff.
Smaug from The Hobbit.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
I was thinking
we're saying
Puff the Magic
Smaug,
Dragon.
We also Puff the Magic
That's what
Dragon.
Puff looks like. But yeah, an Eastern dragon's like the long, kind of slender ones. Like, in Zelda Breath of the Wild, there's
Yeah.
things that fly
Yeah,
like that.
That's okay. And Western dragon is like what?
They're like cool. They're
Just
like
ripped.
hench. Yeah, like absolutely ripped. They
Yeah.
lift.
They lived.
So yeah, that's what happens, right? And he ends up with a sword. And I thought at one point maybe he was going to like remember his like skilled warrior training from his past life. He is so bad with this sword. He like swings it twice and then drops it, and he's just useless.
Yeah, and this is when we kind of get... this is where I think the end of... what's the second to last Avengers film called?
Age of Ultron.
No.
Infinity War.
Infinity War, where they turned into dust. This is where I think they literally stole this scene from, because everyone that's there, apart from Ethan, just turns into dust as she turns into the Goodamugi.
Right, Dragon Wars did it first.
Yeah, Dragon Wars did it first. You heard it here first. And this is the bit I got annoyed again. How's Ethan getting home from here? Because Jack's turned to dust, all the bad guys are dust, the girls dust, all the dragons are gone. Yeah. He's just in the cut rate Mordor still.
But he is driving an all-American vehicle, so I'm sure it'll have made it through the fight.
Bring the vehicle.
Yeah, they did, because it's just between the border of Mexico and Los Angeles. They drove into it.
Daryl isn't turning up and driving him out the scene. It's the one scene he doesn't
on the back of the Imugi. Let's go. So I've got. There's another plot section that I found which covers this bit. So let's
slide it in.
Okay, so right, hold on. Here we are. Here we go. Just trying to figure out where they say this section is. Okay, here is this. Okay, right. So, there, as Burakai emerges from the fortress to consume Sarah, Ethan's medallion unleashes power that destroys the Artrox army. So, you were right.
You were
right
right.
at the beginning.
Sorry, Matt.
Okay.
Ethan then attempts to prevent Burakai from consuming Sarah, but he is knocked away, whereupon the chosen Goodamugi emerges from the fortress and attacks Burakai, which is when that
That's
scene
so stupid. If they're doing that whole ritual, why have they got the Goodamugi
just waiting in the background?
Waiting to
are they both in the same temple? Surely they're fighting
but
all the
why
time.
would that happen? Why wouldn't they just lock it up?
This is the worst
build a
Mordor
wall
anyone's
or
ever been to.
something?
The two Imugi, good and evil, engage each other in a duel. Do they?
This is when Tim says they're flying, but they're definitely not.
They definitely are
They don't
flying.
have wings.
Burakai appears to win after seemingly snapping the Goodamugi's neck. Does anyone remember this? Having won the fight, Burakai again approaches Sarah, but having offered herself to him, she instead gives her power to the injured Goodamugi, who absorbs it. Sarah faints, and the Goodamugi becomes the celestial dragon.
The heaven lightning bit.
Yeah, continuing the duel until it finally destroys. And then after this, there's a section that I don't think we've discussed yet. Do you remember what happens next?
He just walks off.
Incorrect.
Does it not fade?
No,
Jack
comes.
my memory.
Yeah,
Yes,
here
Jack
we
comes.
go. Right, so
And turns to dust.
after Burakai is destroyed, Sarah dissolves.
Dust.
Sarah peacefully.
Dragon Wars did it first.
Sarah peacefully dissolves into spirit form, and the celestial dragon permits her, nice of him, to speak to Ethan, who she promises to love for all eternity. Then withdraws Sarah into its body and ascends to heaven. Jack appears behind Ethan, reminding him that the two of them have been given a great honour to take part in the transformation, and then vanishes, assumingly never to be seen again. After whispering, "Goodbye, old man," Ethan walks away into the desert, and the film finishes.
Probably dies of dehydration.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right, so that was a roller coaster ride. In terms of crap movies, what bucket would you put it in?
This is one of the worst films I've ever watched. Okay. I just read back through my notes. I wrote, I hate this film probably 5 or 6 times. I've also written, I hate Jordan a couple of times as well.
Okay. I thought that maybe doing this podcast, I'd be able to talk about some guilty pleasures or maybe find some new guilty pleasures. And this definitely is never going to be categorised as a guilty pleasure.
I'm never watching this ever again, even though
I don't
own
want
it
to.
now.
I categorise into the bucket where the potential for a good film was there, but then they really didn't deliver with it. And actually, as soon as I realised, kind of 10-15 minutes in, how bad it was going to be, I quite enjoyed it. I enjoyed how bad it was.
Okay.
So am I the only one who enjoyed it?
I enjoyed parts of it, like the skyscraper scene and a couple of the jokes. Other than that, it was
there's
so
like
painful.
a couple of little like bits, like in the one of the flashbacks where there's a fight scene,
Yep.
and the Haram guy like jumps like 15 foot in the air. I'm like, oh, this could be kind of cool. I'm enjoying this bit, and then that never happens again for the rest of the film.
Yeah, incorrect.
So they like promise a lot and then deliver on nothing.
I think that's pretty much what I'm saying. Right, there was a lot of potential, a lot of promise, but nothing really came through, and it was a bit of a.
Okay. So if I paid you $99 million and you have to direct Dragon Wars 2, what would you do? What would happen in your Dragon Wars 2 as briefly as possible?
I need a moment just to think that through.
Tim.
I can go straight in.
Okay.
Dragon Wars 2, just not about it at all. I remake Fast and Furious, the first one, just scene for scene, but without Vin Diesel. Done.
Would
Who
it be called Car Wars, Sea War?
Without Vin Diesel, so is his car driving itself?
No. It's the guy that plays Ethan.
It's the Imugi. It's the Ascended Dragon.
Okay, weird. I was
I don't want to see anything
so
to do
my
this
Dragon
again.
Wars 2 would be about a little topic we've covered: Western dragons fighting Eastern dragons. So it's an actual war of dragons against each other, and obviously the Western dragons would win because they are really strong and buff.
Is it still directed by a South Korean director?
No, directed by me.
Directed by you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's directed by Max. So,
Co-directed by the old director. You're going to kind of get some
He can
inspiration from
be a
him.
producer. What about you?
basically, you're remaking Godzilla 2.
Yeah,
Where
sort
they all
of,
fight
but
each
there's
other.
kind of like a race war element to it.
There's a race war.
Yeah, because it's like Western and Eastern. It's kind of like
Okay,
it's a metaphor.
Weird flex on that.
So my premise is it's essentially exactly the same plot, but it's based in London, and the dragons emerge from the tube,
You have to stop. You have to stop.
and the film is called Dragon Wars Drexit.
Okay.
Oh, I really thought that was where I
Okay,
was
yeah,
going.
I don't know where you thought you were going with that, but that's going to pay off.
Yeah,
shortly.
that's a real payoff.
Get
right there.
ready, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, what if I told you? It's not. This isn't the payoff, by the way. But this is just my next section. So, what if I told you there was going to be a Dragon Wars sequel at one point? And basically, yeah, it was rumored in like 2013.
The plot's
Right.
Fast
The
and Furious.
rumours have died down, but you would never guess. So the plot.
We're in
this,
6
is,
years.
this is a direct quote, I think, from like Rotten Tomatoes or IMDb, and it takes place in 1969 during the race to be the first country on the moon.
Oh my god,
And
yes.
the US and Russia actually go to war in this version. So yeah, you've got kind of that actual war element, but I don't know how the moon.
Are they getting
No,
the
the
Imugi
moon's
to
the
fight
prize.
for them?
Imagine if the Russians had the bad Imugi.
That's what I'm
They
thinking.
100% would.
That's
wouldn't
what
Yeah,
I'm
and
thinking.
they like paint it with like Soviet
they?
flags.
Yeah, that'd be sick. And they airdrop it onto a US city.
It's a dragon. It can. Oh no, it can't fly, can it? Ugh. really wasn't ready for the Soviet anthem then.
Cool. So we hated it. Thanks.
Yeah. Cheers.
So there's something that happens in another famous podcast that I listen to where they check Amazon.
Another famous podcast.
yeah,
Man,
no-
you're really hyping this up here.
They check Amazon reviews. So I've got 4. So maybe we could each read one. So this first one I'm going to read. Here we go. It's from Toby1 Kenobi. 1
Great
star,
name.
worst film ever made. Acting, awful. Plot, awful. Dialogue, awful. Special effects, awful. Without a doubt, the worst movie ever made. No, I haven't seen every movie that has been produced. However, I simply cannot comprehend anything worse than this. It is beyond belief that so much money was wasted making this film. I'd rather gouge out my bladder with a blunt spoon than watch this again. Tim, have you been on Amazon? It's Toby1 Kenobi.
I'll be honest, I was with Toby until he slagged off all the CGI stuff because some of it was okay. Like, it wasn't great, but Toby's a madman.
Cool. So, yeah, I've done the top one. You can
I'm
do-
not reading the next one because it is too positive about
Okay.
it. I'm going to read the bottom one. From Celtic Dragon.
This guy loves dragons.
Sorry. Don't waste your money. I'm really into dragon-based movies. I thought this might rank up there with Reign of Fire, but I was sadly mistaken. It's now in a charity shop. Why are you forcing this on someone who's like trying to give money to charity?
It's like Jumanji. You
Yeah.
can't get rid of it.
You
You throw it away and someone finds
Comes
it.
down,
just
comes down
destroy
the
it.
river and someone picks it up.
Yeah.
What is this Dragon Wars? All right, am I reading Graphically Superb by Brown?
Yeah, go for it.
Right. What an action fantasy film. Best I've seen for some time. Action through most of the film. The acting might not be the best, but there's not much of it anyway. Good point. I really enjoyed it. Don't know why there were no subtitles at the beginning, because there were a fair bit of foreign speaking. Drexit. What's the point when you don't know what they're saying? Anyway, if you want an action film, check it out. Superb. Cheers, Brown.
Hold on, so the original, on their proper version of this film, there's no subtitles. So when I originally tried to like watch it on the internet and there was no subtitles, that's just how the film is.
Maybe.
That's
I think-
mental.
The format he was watching on was DVD. So
Okay. He got a dodgy copy, I think. Right, there's one more that I think I'll read.
just a quick side question on one of the ones that was read out. What is Reign of Fire?
okay.
Don't you worry about that.
Okay, so the obviously the kind of genre keyword thing was natural disasters, but this has gone so well, we're going to change it to dragons. And so we've lined up episode 2 is going to be Reign of Fire. Episode 3
Oh, it's my choice, which is the Dungeons and Dragons film.
Oh God.
nice. So you've never seen Reign of Fire?
No.
Right,
Oh,
so
you're in for a treat.
basically it's Matthew McConaughey and
Christian Bale?
Actual actors.
Yes,
Yeah, actual actors.
And the story is that in the year 2020, they were digging the tube and under
Crossroad,
London,
mate.
and they uncovered dragons, and the dragons rose up, became the dominant species on Earth, and now it's like there's barely any humans left, and Christian Bale lives in a castle
With a load of kids.
with a load of. I don't remember that bit.
He does Star Wars with his best
Don't
mate.
do that hand action.
He does Star Wars with his best mate for the kids.
Right.
They
sure
also
he does.
they all have parents in this film.
Okay, good.
Right.
It's not Christian Bale just stealing children.
Remove that
There's
episode.
one good scene where they all jump out of an aeroplane and they have some kind of system to kill the dragon involving a net. But other than that, it's pretty bad. So
It's a
we're going to watch
helicopter.
that next.
So the payoff was that I basically just described that film.
Yes.
That's why we started getting so excited. You just
Right.
Also
Except
trying to
for-
get you to stop.
My name was much better. I'm just going to
What,
say it.
what was your name?
Drexit.
Drexit.
Yeah.
Right, sure. Okay.
Thank you. Political.
Okay, so do I have anything else that we want to say to wrap it up? I think that's about it.
See ya.
No, because we said we'd work on our
Exit line.
finishes, yeah.
Can I just read my last note that I wrote?
Yeah, go for
I
it.
hate Jordan for making me watch this film and spending $3.99
I think that's a fairly good way to finish that off, to be honest.
because this is the worst film I've ever seen.
All right then. Well, we have a film to go watch, Reign of Fire, and we're going to enjoy it.
Oh, counter suggestion, actually.
Why are you doing this live?
Yeah. No, let's do it. Let's keep it in. So, for the next episode, should we do it on a Friday evening and have some drinks with it and find some sort of drinking rule that we could run through
We
the
could
core
do
of
it.
it?
I'm not sure if the audience needs to know that, but we can do that.
I mean, you can
Yeah.
edit this out, Max. This is how technology works. Right. Anyway, back to the closing
We'll come up
statement.
with a drinking game to watch Reign of Fire, and
Can I say I really like Reign of Fire as a film, so I'm really happy this is one of the ones we're doing.
we'll
I
actually
can't
enjoy
remember
this
seeing
time. All right. Well, that was that. We'll see you next time for Reign of Fire.
Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Yeah.